Hey guys, it's Choco the Chocobo here. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the support column in the upgrade section. And basically what's in here is a bunch of support items, obviously, but that means like it's going to have a lot of the auras, a lot of the like regenerative items, stuff like that. So let's get right into it. Ring of Basileus. The Ring of Basileus is an item that allows you to basically extend a mana regen aura as well as a bonus aura for armor. Very handy. It takes the Sage's Mask and it replaces its 50% with a 0.65 flat mana regen rate, which is helpful if you have a hero that doesn't have a naturally high mana regen rate and actually would benefit more from this early game. You also see a lot of people that get it for the Vladimir's Offering, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. But the Ring of Aqua is just basically a Ring of Basileus, and then you slap it together with the Wraith Band. It combines into this item that is basically just a combination of both. You do lose the agility for some reason, but you basically just do keep two components the same. Nothing really to write home about there. Now the Vladimir's Offering, however, you take all these components here, you slap them together with a recipe. The Vladimir's Offering is this is like the true upgrade, I guess, for the Ring of Basileus, and what it does is it increases your Ring of Basileus's aura from the basic 2 armor to 5. The regen goes up by 0.15. And it just kind of soups it up, right? And in addition to that, you also get an aura bonus damage, so everyone around you gets a fair bit of extra damage that can scale into late game, and that's based off your damage, which you can see here, as well as giving you an aura lifesteal. Now, I cannot stress this enough. If you are new, remember, the Vladimir's Offering only works on melee heroes in terms of the aura lifesteal. Everything else works fine, but the lifesteal itself only affects the melee units around you. Now that does include units like, Nature's Prophet's trees or like a neutral creepy dominated, whatever it may be, but only melee units. So melee heroes and stuff, they have a field day with this, and it's an aura. So an aura is different from an actual orb, and this is a major distinction that only occurs with the Vladimir's Offering at this current time. But you can have a Vladimir's Offering and then have a Morbid Mask, and those two stack with each other. You can't have like 2 Morbid Masks because they don't stack with each other. You can't have like a Diffusal, and technically you're not supposed to be able to have a Diffusal in a Mask of Madness, but basically because it's an aura, it's treated differently, and you can stack those different things. So you can have an attack modifier in addition to Vlad's aura. So bear that in mind. Very, very handy. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. The Headdress. What Headdress does is you slap these items together with a 200 recipe, and you build something that gives you an HP regen aura, and it's pretty handy, right? It's a little bit stronger than the Ring of Regen in terms of it gives you +3 as opposed to +2. But it's something that can be very helpful for helping your allies if you're having to hold it for a teammate. You can help them slowly recover their health. It's not a bad item to have, especially earlier on. It does drop off, obviously, later on to the game when everyone's regenerating it naturally pretty high. But just something to keep an eye out for. This also, in conjunction with the Buckler, can make the mechanism. The Buckler requires the Chainmail, Iron Branch, and the recipe here. And what this does is it gives you a +2 armor active. So you keep +5 armor for yourself and the +2 stats, but no one really cares about that. Whenever you activate the Buckler, you get +5 armor to everyone that's around you. It lasts for 30 seconds, so it's not too bad. Just pop it like that, and everyone gets their aura there. Or not the aura, but the armor active. It does wear off. There's no actual aura here that you can actually use, so bear that in mind. Now, the Headdress can be made into a Cagdar's Pipe of Insight, which we'll talk about in a moment here. But first, let's talk about mechanism. If you take the Buckler and the Headdress, and then you slap it with a recipe, you get mechanism, which allows you to actually recover people's health. So whenever you use it, you heal everyone around you for 250 HP, and you buff them as if you used a Buckler for, I forget, like 30 seconds or something like that? I don't actually remember. But whenever you pop it, you do get that kind of nice little bit of HP recovery. And that's very helpful in a team fight, right? Because you can suddenly heal your entire team for 250. It's very handy to have in a team fight. The 2 armor does help a little bit with the bulkiness, but it's really there for that HP quick heal. Now, the +5 attributes, it's alright. It's basically just your Iron Branches getting a little bit more of a buff. The +5 armor still exists from the Buckler. And you do get bonus HP regen aura 4 now, so that's 1 up from the Headdress. So definitely a strong support item. You just use it like that, everything recovers health, and you're in good shape. Now moving right along, the Pipe of Insight, the other thing that the Headdress can build into, along with the Hood of Defiance, which is in the defensive tree here, the armor tree, which I'm not going to talk about yet. Basically what it does is it takes the spell resistance, I guess, from the Hood of Defiance, and it keeps it into the Pipe of Insight. It takes all the HP regen of the 2 items combined, basically, and gives it to you. You lose the HP regen aura, but in exchange, whenever you use the item, you get a 400 spell damage bubble shield. So here, if I use it right like that,
On it.
this green bubble will soak up 400 magic damage from any source. So very, very handy. Definitely something to keep an eye out for in terms of if you have a lot of spell damage against your team, it can help out a team a lot. Bear in mind that the cost is pretty high, right? Like the Hood of Defiance is its own cost, but if you do have it, it's a 900 recipe, and this can be a pretty expensive item. But because of the components, generally it tends to be worth it more than not if you get into late game. Let's talk about the Urn of Shadows next. The Urn of Shadows is an item which allows you to take the Sage's Mask and 2 Gauntlets of Strength, and you basically just slap them together. But in addition to slapping them together, you also get something that's very similar to the Magic Stick, except whenever an enemy hero dies relatively near you, and that's like a pretty far distance, by the way, guys. Like, that's almost the entire screen here. But if anyone dies in that 1400 area, you get a charge, like a Magic Stick does. There's no cap on it, so you can have like a billion charges if you wanted. But you can use that charge to either heal an allied hero or to damage an enemy hero. Now, if you heal an allied hero, you will go ahead and heal them for basically a salve amount. And it's a really, really handy thing to use, but you have to be out of combat. If you take damage from a hero or a tower, it'll break. If you take damage from creeps, you're fine. But as long as you don't take a damage from a hero or tower, you can regen that health, and it's really, really quick, and it's very handy to kind of go back into a fight. So something to keep in mind. The 150 damage, it's nice, but only really helps you early game. It drops off sharply at the end of the game, so something that definitely is more aggressive earlier on rather than later on. We'll talk about boots later, just like I did in the other video, so let's go on to Medallion of Courage. Medallion of Courage, what it does is it allows you to have an active ability, besides having, you know, the ridiculous armor amount that you get from chainmail and stuff like that, and the Sage's Mask's regen for mana. You get an active ability that allows you to shred armor for both the enemy you target and yourself. So I'm going to take this little victim here. This little guy has +5 armor altogether. If I use the active, you're going to see my armor drop down from +14 to +8. Yes, +14 to +8. I do that math to make sure. And this guy is going to lose -3. So that's a fair bit of armor shredding. It does increase your damage a lot in terms of physical damage that you deal to the actual creeps and heroes that you target. So something to keep in mind. Very helpful active.
On it.
And because it's shredding your armor in the value of 6, that's the 6 armor you get from the Medallion of Courage. Do note, you will feel yourself get a little bit more vulnerable in terms of how much damage you're taking because you're shredding your own armor. So keep an eye out for how much physical damage you are actually supposed to be taking. A lot of people forget that you also hurt yourself in this way, and it'll throw you off. But it's an item that can be reasonably held on some heroes to do some more damage. If you're new, I would not recommend it because it's a little bit tricky, and frankly, for that cost, you might be able to go for something else that's a little bit better for you. Moving right along to Drums of Endurance. Drums of Endurance,
Yes.
what this does is it takes the components of the items, so the Robe of Magi and stuff, it gives you all those stats, but in addition to this, you get an active ability, right? So the active ability is it gives you a +10 attack speed, +10 movement speed buff that you can run around with. So you'll see me move this speed, and then I pop it and move a little bit faster. Now, this is in conjunction with the aura that the drums have, which gives you a +5 movement speed as well as a +5 attack speed aura. So that gives you a whopping +15 to each. Very, very handy. Very good for a good team fight where you have attack speed being a major component. So keep that in mind if you have the components for it. I would not go out of my way to build this. It can be nice, but it's not that great, right? Because you're talking about basically having everyone have a Glove of Haste at the beginning whenever you pop your aura, or you pop your active, sorry. And as well as giving them a plus 10 movement speed, which is like half of a phase boots-ish. So, it can be helpful. It's not great, it's not bad. If you have the components, you might as well, because it's a 750 recipe, so you can look into it if you want. So to talk about the boots. The boots, this stuff gets a little bit weird because I go into my personal conflicts. So let's talk about Arcane first. Arcane, very straightforward. You take the components, they automatically assemble into Arcane boots. You get an extra 250 mana from the energy booster. But whenever you use it as an active, you spend 25 and you recover 135, both for yourself as well as allies around you. Now, bear in mind that means you're getting 110 as opposed to 135, but everyone that's around you gets that mana, which is really, really handy because that means that you can be using your spells a lot more frequently, and heroes that have low mana pools can benefit hugely from this. So bear that in mind. So that's Arcane Boots, and now we go on to Tranquil Boots. Tranquil Boots is a strange item. I think it's a strange item. What it does is it gives you the ability to heal yourself. If you remove yourself kind of from the combat, you can go ahead and pop the Tranquil Boots, and it'll heal you for 250 HP. Now, I don't believe it breaks on creep hits, so you should be okay. I think it does break whenever a hero hits you, though, so you might want to be careful. Not that it really recovers your health fast enough for this to really matter. As you can see here, you're recovering 17 HP per second, but it's over a fair bit of time right now, so you're not going to be getting the 250 right away. Now, that said, the boots themselves, you actually move pretty quickly with them, right? You get the 3 armor from your Ring of Protection, so it's souped up from the 2 base from your Ring of Protection, your Ring of Regen, same thing. You get 25 extra movement speed out of it, but if you take 3 instances of damage, you lose 25 movement speed, so it goes back down to boots of speed. This is very important to bear in mind, and you can't use your Tranquils when it's broken, so be careful about it. It's not really a good idea to get this all the time. You can kind of just say, okay, well, I'm done with it, and disassemble it, so that's always an option for you, but it's definitely an item that is situational. Heroes that really benefit from this tend to be heroes that have, and like if you're going to use it synergetically with like a soul ring, stuff like that, or let's say that you're a lich and you already have a way to regen your mana, so you just need a way to regen your health for a really strong sustain, this is an option for you. So that concludes this episode, and that's good because my base is slowly dissolving. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If I need to redo this because I'm a little bit goofy right now, please do let me know. But this should conclude support stuff, and then we'll be talking about other stuff in the future. So have a great day, guys. I'll see you in other videos. Bye.